Welcome everyone to the first session 0 for the upcoming Versus role-playing game Actual Play. It is my honor to have the guest Casey Brown here with me to be creating a character in the Versus role-playing game. We've been playing tabletop RPGs since we were in college together, and so he's no stranger to the system or my GMing style. So Casey, what do you want to tell people at home about yourself?
I'm Casey. I'm a gamer through and through. Jonah and I have known each other about 7 years now. First tabletop I ever played was a game he ran in this same world too, actually. So a lot of fun to come back and visit it. My free time, I play a lot of tabletops. Regrettably, a lot of Pathfinder recently. Not a fan. So it's fun to play something with more of a narrative focus here. I'm excited.
Pathfinder has its charms for sure, but it will be nice to come full circle. This has been a long project in the making for me, both the setting and the system. So it'll be really fun to tie all those threads back together, and you might even run into some old characters that existed in the setting back then. So when you're making a character, since you don't have just a class race combination to choose from, you have to start with kind of a high concept, something, a paragraph or a couple of sentences about your character. It doesn't have to be concrete. It can change during the character creation process, but just a vague idea of the type of character that you want to play, either their abilities or their backstory, even some quirks that are really fundamental to who they are as a character. Do you have a high concept for who you're thinking about playing?
Yeah, I'm trying to branch out this time. Notoriously, I love to do sellsword, Jaime Lannister type, rugged, handsome, fun, but it's not role playing for me. So I'm trying to do something a little different.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
it's always good.
That's what role playing's for. So I'm thinking something more like a thief this time around. So I'm more in the background. I'll have more utility. Probably not a huge combat focus in my mind. Normally, I feel like I'm normally leading the charge, but it'd be fun to have to think more on my feet for once and experiment with the system.
Awesome. And there are tons of things that non-combatants or people who are less enthused about getting into a fight can do behind the scenes or otherwise. So I think that we can definitely accommodate that. Awesome. So let's jump right into character creation. The best place to start whenever you're making a character is probably the attributes section. Attributes are the core of any player character, non-player character's abilities. Agility is going to cover hand-eye coordination, sneaking, movement speed, all of that fun stuff. Strength is going to determine your hit points and what kind of equipment you can use. Intelligence is your overall deduction, perception, and how much you can master your skills, which we'll get to later in character creation. And guile is going to govern all social situations, how hard you are to deceive, and how likable and friendly and persuasive you are. Magic is an optional 5th attribute. Everyone starts with a D6 average in the main 4, but not many people can use magic in this setting. If a player character wants to, they can invest some points into that, and that'll allow them to cast spells, but that's totally optional. So with your high concept in mind, what values were you thinking for your attributes?
Definitely agility to start off with. So if I remember right, bumping it up a die rank, it's 3 points on the... Yeah, 3 points.
Absolutely. And you can bump that down from a 6 to a 4 to get 3 points back, but that means every time you use that attribute, you are going to be rolling a d4. And when 1s are an automatic failure, you're not going to want to be relying on that very much at all.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Thief, I can't imagine using these other ones nearly as much as agility. I might bump that up to a d10.
Absolutely. This is a fairly high-level campaign. You guys are classic fantasy adventurers. You should be capable of some pretty good things. So you're going to have 15 points to spend here. All the players in the campaign will. So 6 is an investment, but it's nothing that the treasury cannot bear, so to speak. And agility is going to do so much for you. It's going to be stealth, sleight of hand, picking locks, climbing, jumping, dodging. It's like it does a lot.
Yeah, a bit over a third of my points, but yeah, going to be modifying like probably like over half the skills I use. I think that's worth it. So strength, intelligence, guile. I might revisit those, but for now I'm pretty content with those at 6s. They'll have some use. I can't imagine using it a ton. What's catching my interest is I haven't run like a caster or just a magic character in quite a while. I'm thinking about investing some points into that. At least
Awesome.
like enough to do basic casting. Maybe a little more, so like a D4 or D6.
That sounds cool. Yeah, what I really like about this magic system is you don't have to commit to being a full caster just to get some utility out of this attribute. If you want to be like a full blown wizard with the long robes and staff, you probably want like a D8 or 10 because you're going to be using that so much. But you're going to be mostly just a thief with maybe a couple extra tricks up their sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
I think a 4 or 6 could accomplish the majority of like simple like tricks from a school or two.
Yeah, I'm thinking like casting like some minor like illusions or something like that, just enough to like aid in my stealth. Something cool. Something about that's really fun in my mind to imagine, like a thief like throwing little like lights around, distracting guards. It fits in my head. I like that idea.
Absolutely, I like it too. Why don't you slot a D6 in there, and then when we are as we go down the rest of the sheet, spend more points. You can come back and change it to a 4 and 8 based on how your point total is looking.
Yeah, makes sense.
Awesome. So now with your attributes more or less locked in for the time being, we can move forward to skills. Skills are going to make you a lot more reliable whenever you roll those attribute die. Say you want to be sneaky. You can take the stealth skill, and that's going to be a static bonus +1 to +5 that is going to always be added to whatever attribute you use when stealth is relevant. So if you're sneaking between shadows, that's going to be agility. You can add your stealth. If you're planning the best way to infiltrate a building, that's going to be intelligence, and you can add that stealth bonus as well. So you got a list of primary skills in front of you. Which ones were you thinking about taking for this character?
So thief, I'm definitely for some reason, instead of the sneaking, like some like basic climbing, all that like stuck out first. So I think I'll definitely do acrobatics. Obviously some stealth too.
Awesome.
And I have that magic. I'm thinking Arcana would be the best for the illusion tricks I have in mind.
Absolutely. So now that you have a magic attribute, you can start taking magic skills. There's 8 to choose from, but I think the majority of what you're looking for is probably going to be in the Arcana school, which is going to govern like illusion and classic enchantments and that sort of thing.
I not a combat-based character, but I don't think having just 1 point in it would be terrible, especially since my related skills. Oh, no, fighting does go with agility, does it not, actually?
It does. Rolling to hit is going to be your agility die. Strength just determines what kind of equipment you can use.
Okay. Yeah, I might pick up just a point in fighting as well. Doesn't seem like a bad call.
Not at all. In fact, starting with just a +1 in a skill can actually be a great strategy, because as you use that skill throughout play, you will just passively increase your ability in it by gaining XP.
Now, I know you said intelligence is related to your mastery of a skill. So at 6 intelligence, what's the limit that I could raise my acrobatics to?
Excellent question. So your mastery is the maximum that you can put points into your skills. It's going to be half your intelligence die. So with the D6, which is average, you can get up to a +3, which is professional, right? 1 is hobbyist, 2 is apprentice, 3 is professional. But those expert, master, and savant levels of mastery are going to be reserved for people who just have a keener mind and have allocated more time for study.
Makes sense. All right. I might be okay with these skills for now until I see how all the points lay out.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You can always come back at the end, whatever points you have left over, split them between these.
All right, I guess I'll just put a 1 in all these for now, just to have an idea of. Ooh, already at 14. Look at making some decisions.
Already at 14. Luckily, traits, the final category for character creation, can have both positive and negative traits in there. So it's possible you might be able to recoup some points by taking on some added difficulties or flaws. So that brings us to the final category for character creation, which is traits. Traits can be anything, really, that isn't numerically quantifiable or your character's personal abilities. Maybe they have some extra spending money and they can buy themselves out of a problem, or they have a old friend they can call in a favor for, sidekick, hideout, any asset or resource that they have, or any like character ideals or traits that you really want to bake into your character in a way that the system acknowledges. So there's I think like 200 traits or something. Have you picked any out that you think you would like for your character, or just starting from the top of the list?
There is one. I haven't done a character like this before. It's normally not my play style, but I think juvenile would be a lot of fun. Like I'm imagining like a Dickens, not Charles Dick. That's his brother. You wouldn't know him. Like a little like a Dickensian street urchin kind of guy. Like a lot of like, yeah. I think it'd be fun to play a young character. It's normally not what I do at all. And also I'm could use the point refund too. So like a -2. That's not terrible.
That is not terrible. That adds up pretty quick.
Now I did see this impacted my mastery though. So
right. Juvenile has a couple of effects. It limits your mastery to 2. So it would be 3 normally with a D6 intelligence. Juvenile is going to bump that down to a 2. You just haven't lived long enough to really become professional at any skill. And that penalty will persist for a year in game. But based on how rugged your character's life experiences are and how many time skips they go through, they can grow up over the course of a game. They'll lose that juvenile trait. They'll get the mastery lock removed and get a free rank of strength out of it for the hassle.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Cool. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing juvenile. That actually kind of works since I don't have any skills that are particularly high right now. I was trying to go kind of like utility across the board. So yeah, that fits. One thing that I saw that I think works pretty well. I don't have a lot of fighting focus. That's not my intention. So I think tripping dodge would be really cool. I don't play around with the combat talents a lot, but that looks neat.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a combat focused trait. Kind of gives you some proactive defense where with someone attacks you and you just totally outclass them, you just send them to the ground.
Yeah,
give you an opportunity to get away.
A D10 agility, I feel like I'll be able to pull that off pretty consistently. Like the idea of just running and tripping people up during combat while whoever else does the heavy hits seems pretty cool.
I like that a lot. Great traits so far. Any others? You have 2 points to spend.
Ooh. So I was looking at this too, since I am a magic user. I think Channeler would be really cool. Since my magic isn't particularly high right now, that would definitely give me a bonus to try to cast some of these spells.
So Channeler allows you to start the game with a wand or staff or some item that allows you to focus your power. Pretty powerful. It gives you a +2 to all magic schools while you're holding it. But if you lose that object, you're incapable of casting it at all. So it's definitely a trade-off. What kind of object were you thinking?
So I'm thinking, I have this idea now. I'm a small street urchin. I'm thinking maybe it's like an amulet of some kind or something. Could belong to my parents. I guess we can say belong to my mom, and maybe could be something in my backstory we can flesh out later where maybe she was a caster of some kind, or maybe it's like a family heirloom that I'm just not aware of the history of. But like, I like the idea of, yeah, that being tied to like all my magical powers. It's this little like amulet for my like family I don't know that, yeah.
I like that a lot. So in the seeds for your backstory already is going to make my job a lot easier once we get into the game. So I appreciate the work you're doing now. That's awesome. I love that. So normally the channeler trait requires you to take a totem, which is a held item. Your amulet can always be worn. It's not going to be taken from you if you like drop it and fumble, or if you're disarmed or patted down going through a security check. So that's going to be a little better than the normal channeler trait. So that's going to cost 1 point instead of 0. If that's all right with you.
Okay, yeah. Fantastic. Still, yeah, this is giving me like a decent amount of points to work with. So if I remember from the lore of the world, Brugge, where the setting's taking place, horses are a big part of the culture, right?
They are. Yeah, I've talked to all my players. Gave them a quick rundown on the section of the world where I think the campaign should start, and yeah, Brugge is a very horse centric culture. Absolutely.
So to make your job even harder during this campaign of wrangling all of us, I think I'm going to take a phobia of horses.
Cool. That's awesome.
I think I'm a like young, poor. I've definitely never ridden a horse. I see a lot of people around the city with a lot more money than I have with them, and I think to my character they'd be these like great giant beasts that I want nothing to do with. They
I like that a lot.
They bite, and yeah, I think that'll be fun to have to work around.
Yeah, and running through the crowded streets of Brugge, I'm sure there have been a couple close calls where a rider didn't see you coming and you almost got trampled, and now you know to stay away from them.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So that's a pretty hefty burden to take on. Whenever you're put in a position where you have to ride a horse, or even just get too close to them, you are going to have to roll to see if your character is even capable of doing so. So that's a pretty big burden, but you will get the 2 points back for that. So you got plenty to spend elsewhere.
So whenever I'm rolling, courage, which attribute is that based on again?
So courage, discipline, and callous are 3 characteristics that are going to start as D6 for everyone, and just like the attributes. But instead of spending points on them, you can take traits to affect them. Wow. So if you wanted to be brave, you could take the brave trait, which will let you roll a D8. Or you could be completely immune to fear with the iron-willed trait for 3 points. But those are all going to be covered in the trait section. They're not used often enough, and they're never used in conjunction with skills, so they're not really attributes. They're just kind of fun flavor things that traits will sometimes reference.
Gotcha, that makes sense. So I think I might be good on my traits for now. I have these extra points to spend. I might pick up a streetwise skill with all this new money.
That's a good idea. It's going to let you pick locks and make connections in the underground of pretty much any city you find yourself in.
And surprising myself, I'll pick up Aromancy as well, since I'll be a little bit better at casting than I intended.
Nice. And a fun little hack that you've found here is that normally when a caster stores some of their power in a reliquary, like a totem, like you have, it can exceed their mastery, but it can only be applied to one school. With the channeler, that trade-off, yes, you can't cast without it at all, but it applies to every school that you take. So that channeler badge that you have, that locket from your mother, is going to give you a +2 to aromancy and fighting. But that's not technically a skill. That can exceed your mastery. It's just a bonus that you get whenever you are wearing that locket.
Wow, yeah, that so really helpful trait for me. I like that. And I have one more left to spend. I think I'm going to bump my acrobatics up just by 1 more, which is, nice. I guess, the limit of my mastery for that.
Good stuff. I really like the way that this character is shaping up. I just have a couple of options. Just as someone who's played this game a lot, I'm going to throw out some ideas. Feel free to take them or leave them. Since you are going to gain a strength die when you lose the juvenile trait, you could consider dropping that strength to D4 now, and then having a D6 when you age up. So that, or, as you become an adult, you could become a strapping young man and enjoy the benefits of that D8 strength. Just as an option, something to consider.
So acrobatics, that's based on agility, right? Not strength. So that wouldn't impact my ability to be a little scamp running around.
Not at all. It would give you one fewer hit point. So if someone does finally get their mitts on you, you're going to definitely wish you had that D6 strength. But if you live a year, it will all balance out.
Yeah, I like that trade-off. Yeah, I feel like I'm not able to take a lot of hits anyway running around. Might as well just commit to it. Cool. And now that's so many more points to spend.
Absolutely. And there's a couple different places you could put this. You could get a D8 magic attribute since you're leaning into that more. That's going to unlock a good bit of spells that you'll be able to reach with that +2 maximum, and it will also give you +2 essence, which is a commodity that spellcasters use to basically ensure that they roll well in these crucial moments when they really need to make sure a spell doesn't fizzle. Alternatively, you could take the evasive trait, which would allow you to roll a whopping D12 agility whenever dodging. You can't use it for anything else, but when you're dodging, you're going to be practically uncatchable. Yeah.
Oh, evasive. Let me check. Yeah, 2 points. I can swing that for sure. God, I love that. Not going to be doing a lot of damage, but he's going to be a slippery little guy.
The slipperiest kid on the streets of Brugge you've ever seen.
Just covered in oils and slime.
Sliding down rooftops. I can see it already.
Man, I said I wanted to roleplay here, but... Man, one more point?
One more point.
I guess stealth would be helpful. That is at a 1, and I'm going to be doing sneaking.
That's true. The only thing to consider here is that with your low mastery, starting out with any +2s is, yes, it will definitely help you in the first couple sessions of the game, but you're already starting at your maximum skill.
So there's no leveling up.
Which will prevent you from gaining any experience. Normally there's a nice trade-off where when you fail a skill check, you gain an experience in that skill. So although, you didn't quite make it, you learn something from your mistakes, and after you do that a couple of times, you get a whole nother +1 in the skill. But since your mastery is +2 because of the juvenile trait, you won't have any upward mobility with acrobatics or stealth if you start with +2s in either of them.
That makes sense. Huh. Well, I think stealth is one of those things that it will be nice to level up, but I feel like it's one of the more risky ones to have to fail to level up. So
That's true. It would be a real bummer to fail that first stealth check ever, just get caught and hauled off.
Be like, I'll just get better at this later.
That's very true. Also, I think there's something to be said for not taking too many traits and kind of spreading your character out in too many different directions. I feel like you have a really solid, just from a narrative standpoint, you have a really solid singular character here. All the traits add into that high concept that we discussed earlier really well, and I think this character's in a great spot. All you have is a couple finishing touches. So now that you've met your 15-point total, your character's balanced. It's ready for play. But there are some finishing touches that you can add to bring a little more depth or flavor to your character, like secondary skills, which you get 2 of for free, and then down here in this block, inventory information and your stats, which you can knock out really quick. So where do you imagine your character being from?
Definitely from Brugge, like the city itself. Imagine. Probably haven't even left the city in my lifetime, like that I'm aware of. So I think that makes sense.
Cool.
For hobby, I like to imagine this little street urchin standing on the roofs, whistling or singing. So I think I'm gonna give him like a performance thing, like singing or something like that. That'd be fun.
I like that. I like that. The one thing to consider about the Bruga location knowledge is that in this setting, since we are playing with the official World Nell setting module, everyone gets a free 0-point trait that they get based on which location knowledge they choose. So for Bruga, that's going to give your character just a totally free +2 in writing, which is far from the most useful thing for your character. But say you face your fears someday and get over your phobia, you will just have an innate way of just hopping in that saddle and making it work.
I like that. It'll be a challenge, but it's fun. Something to work around. So
yeah,
origin trait. You said those are free.
Yep.
Awesome.
And in fact, you don't even have to record that since everyone is going to have their origin trait. We'll just know that everyone with the Bruga location knowledge will also have +2 in writing.
Makes sense.
Cool. I like singing. That's fun flavor. Maybe you've entertained a couple tavern common rooms in your day. You gotta make a living somehow when
you have to make a silver.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hop on down if you want to scroll a little bit to inventory. This is everything that your character is going to start with, either on their person or assets they have. Everyone is going to start with 200 silver worth of goods, and anything that they don't spend on goods at the start of the game will just be liquid cash to spend during the game.
Huh. I'm imagining my character like a street urchin. Like 200 silver is like a good bit. Really, all I was like imagining him starting with was like just a simple dagger or something like that. So
just the clothes on your back and that locket, of course.
Yeah, the locket. I can't really imagine what else he would need, because I kind of like the idea of going in with not a ton.
Right, you are a beggar. If you could buy a basic horse, it'd definitely be a kind of a contradiction. Mm-hmm. So there's actually another trait, if you want to revisit that. It's called Destitute. It's a -1 trait. You would have to give up that dagger, but I'm sure it'll be easy for you to steal one or procure like 12 silver or whatever it is to buy one once the game begins. So yeah, all you start with is the clothes on your back, and of course the locket that you paid points for. Mm-hmm. But other than that, you don't start with anything, and it does give you a point that you could put into skills or anywhere else.
I like that, honestly. I think that fits my character. I'll definitely pick up Destitute.
It does make perfect sense for your background.
This is just so far from like my normal character. I'm really excited to give this guy a shot.
Me too. Well, I guess we'll jump back into the points spending section. The character's never locked in until session 1, so it's cool. Where do you think you want to allocate that new point that you found?
I'm thinking now. So 1 point's like a weird amount to work with. I'm thinking about bumping acrobatics and stealth back down to 1. You were saying they'd level up pretty quick, and with those 2 down, I'd have 3 to spend. I might bump magic up and be like a proper caster. That seems...
I think that's economic. I think that makes a lot of sense. You, in 2 sessions, as long as you're using acrobatics and stealth, you already have those at a +2. And to increase an attribute, it's going to take 5 or 6 experience in game. So I think it is just economic to invest in attributes early. And you've already put a point into Channeler. You have two magic schools now. So the higher your magic die, you're going to get more value out of both of those schools. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good play.
Yeah, this is not how I originally imagined them, but I like them a lot more. It's fun.
It is fun, and if you look at the Aeromancy and Arcana spell lists, there's also some pretty fun.
They cross over. I like those.
Crossover. Yeah, it gives you access to some unique spells like Whispering Wind, allow you kind of send messages, and Telekinesis, which is super good.
That seems very helpful for my line of work.
So there is this is why I love automated math calculators, because I can't do math. Every rank of magic is actually only 2 points, not 1.
Oh.
So you still have another point to spend, and
Right.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
There is a trait
Mhm.
that I'm very excited about. It's magically focused, and it's called Dexterous Mind. Let me pull it up because I don't remember exactly what it does, but I know that I'm excited.
I mean, you wrote like what 200 traits.
Yeah, it's a little hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah, I think
now I just hope that it's 1 point.
You've hyped it up so much.
Okay, damn. It's 2 points, but you get a +3 when casting telekinesis, and you can roll stealth and streetwise to pick locks and pockets with telekinesis.
Oh, that's really cool. Damn.
But it is a 2-point trait.
Ooh. Now, can I have more traits than what I have listed here? Because I have 6 so far.
Absolutely. So I have a soft cap of 6 just to make sure a character isn't getting too pulled in too many directions at the same time. But I feel like your character is super singular, and a lot of these traits are just like small +1, -1s that aren't going to be super hard for us to keep track of in game. So if you want another trait to make up for that point, absolutely. What were you thinking?
I mean, that sounds like a really cool trait. I love the idea of picking locks and just like casually walking by people on the street and just like picking their pockets. Not mine. That definitely down for that. You sold me on it.
Awesome. I didn't even genuinely did not occur to me until I was talking about Aeromancy and Arcana and the crossovers that you have there. So that's a 2-point trait called Dexterous Mind, which will be pretty sweet. Awesome. So you do now have the Dexterous Mind trait, but that pushes you up to a 16. So you're going to have to get rid of 1 point somehow. You could take on an additional negative trait, but at that point, that's eight traits might be a lot to juggle.
I think I got it. I'm just gonna fully commit to this whole trickster mindset, and I'm gonna drop fighting completely.
So awesome. I like it.
In a fight, I've already messed up somehow, and I'm gonna have to deal with that. So yeah, no fighting for this guy.
I like it. You're gonna be living on the edge, not taking up space.
Tripping people and dodging and picking their pockets, but no fighting.
Very fun. Very fun. Awesome. Well, I think you have a fantastic build here. I cannot wait to see how it plays out in game. Your inventory is super simple with the destitute trait. It's nothing, so you can skip right over that, except for your mother's locket, of course.
Oh yeah.
So with your inventory complete, pretty easy with the destitute trait, we can jump over to your stats. So stats are super easy. They're just derived from your core attributes. A D10 agility is going to net you a 5 speed. So you can run 5 spaces where most people are only going to be able to manage 3.
I don't even need a horse. I'm fine.
Yeah, true. True. Your mastery with a D6 intelligence would normally be a +3, but with your juvenile trait, that's reduced to a +2.
Gotcha.
Your health is going to only be a terrifying 2 hit points, which is like 1 hit from a longsword.
That's why I'm evasive, right?
But yeah, just don't get hit, lol. And then you'll have a 1 acquaintance to spend from your D6 guile. So this is a fun mechanic where people can bring in NPCs of their own design, introduce someone from your backstory into the game after the game starts by spending this acquaintance.
Okay. Cool.
But you only have 1, so use it wisely.
Can you replenish that, or is it just like a static 1 from character creation?
It's just a static 1 from character creation. If the campaign goes really long and everyone has depleted all of their acquaintances, there is, it does say in the guide, you can replenish them all, kind of like start anew. But for the most part, it's a good tool to build out the world, or solve problems a couple of times by, I know a guy, call it phoning a friend, so to speak. But usually speaking, further into a campaign, you already have too many NPCs to juggle. So I think
how it goes.
They're less relevant.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So the only thing that's left is information. So we can knock this out really quick. How old do you imagine your character? Obviously juvenile, but that's there like a wide range from 9 to 15.
I think he's about 14 years old is what I'm imagining. So
awesome.
On the cusp of manhood. Maybe he's got like a really wispy mustache or something. But
I like it. And that can be a descriptor if you want to add that.
I don't know if I actually want to play with that.
Yeah, you got a nice mustache in real life. You don't want to downgrade in a fictional world.
This is role playing. Yes. Wispy mustache it is.
And then an adjective occupation, just to quickly summarize your character.
A scrappy pickpocket.
Nice. I like it. Iconic. So yeah, descriptors are, the way they look, the way they act, things like that. And then aspirations are going to be things that your character wants, your overarching goals and your motivations. Commit, lock it in.
He's lithe and a wispy mustache. He sounds just like everyone in Nashville.
Except for the telekinetic part.
I don't know.
And then aspirations and apprehensions. Apprehensions are going to be things, your character's greatest fears, the things that you're fighting against, and that sort of stuff. Those are some pretty big questions. We still have a couple of weeks before session 1, so if you want to take that time to really hone in on those things for your characters, I think that is a perfectly fine thing to do.
Yeah, I might stew on that one for a bit. Really flesh him out a bit.
Nice. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting campaign. Lots of different characters, lots of different motivations, and so having a really solid goal that your character wants. And knowing what your character is willing to obtain that goal, I think is going to be crucial to figuring out what your character is going to do and potentially pretty hard decisions that you might have throughout the game. Awesome. Well, with information, work on progress, the last and hardest thing of making a character is going to be your name. Any ideas for your 14-year-old scrappy pickpocket?
I think in honor of your new Versus system, he'll be Versino.
That's subtle enough. People won't know. Yeah, unless they watch this video.
Yeah. And then they're not allowed to tell anyone. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. First rule of Versus.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like it. Versino. Sweet. That's got character. It's got flair. I'm excited.
Okay, Etsy auditory difference, bye.
Yeah, a little bit. That's really fun. Sounds good, man. Well, I cannot wait to see Versino in action. I cannot wait to play more games with you. This has been a blast making a character. I appreciate you. Appreciate you doing this with me.
I'm glad to be a part of this campaign. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. I hope so. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I appreciate you making this character and talking it through for the people at home, and I appreciate anyone who tuned into this video to learn a little bit more about the Versus role-playing game.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, have a good night.